Hello everyone. Have you ever tried to buy a concert ticket and found out they were sold out in the first 10 minutes of being issued? Or have you ever tried to buy a used iPhone on Facebook Marketplace and noticed that it's way cheaper than buying a new one? Well, that's the power of supply and demand. And today we're going to break it down using real life examples like concerts, tech, and even gaming consoles. You'll walk away understanding how prices are set, where shortages happen, and how markets create value for everyone. So, what is a market? In economics, a market is anywhere where buyers and sellers meet. That includes online stores, in-person events, and apps like StockX or Craigslist, for example. For markets to work smoothly, they need 6 key ingredients. One specific product, like a PlayStation 5 for example, identical items with the same specifications and the same model, one price per market, informed buyers, and lots of buyers and sellers. Finally, they need no outside interference. This creates conditions for smooth, effective trade, where supply meets demand, or what we call market equilibrium. Let's say you're shopping looking for an iPhone 13. If it was to be listed at $1,000, you or anybody looking for it would most likely not be interested, so there would be less buyers looking for the phone. Now, on the other hand, if the phone was to be listed at $300, the sellers might not be too interested in selling, so they wouldn't even bother listing it. But let's say if it was to be listed at 600, which is where both buyers and sellers would agree on buying and selling the phone. This is what we call equilibrium. This price balances the number of phones available with the people willing to pay for these phones. You can find it by graphing the supply and demand and seeing where they intersect. Now, what if the price is wrong, meaning there's excess supply or demand? Let's say, for example, imagine concerts for a Drake ticket are selling too high, for about $500 each. What would happen? There would be lots of unsold tickets, right? Well, this is called excess supply. Now, let's say a PlayStation 5 console was listed for $200. There would be thousands of people trying to buy this product, and there wouldn't be enough PlayStations to be sold. That would create an excess demand. In both cases, the markets will correct. So the prices would drop when supply is too high, and the prices would rise when demand is too strong, until they both settle around the equilibrium. So who wins here? Let's talk about surplus and market value. Markets are not just there to match buyers and sellers, of course. They also create value. So let's say, for example, that someone is looking for a phone and is willing to pay $700 for the phone they find. And they finally get it for only $600. That means they have a gain of $100, which is what we call a customer surplus. On the other hand, if the seller of this phone was willing to sell it for $500 and at the end sold it to the buyer at $600, they have a gain of $100, which is what we call producer surplus. If we add these together, we call it the total surplus, which is the value created by the market itself. So what happens when the quantity is capped? Let's say there's a limited drop for the Drake concert of 900 concert tickets, but there's 1,000 people willing to pay at market price. That restriction means some trades won't happen, and we lose potential value. This loss of value is called deadweight loss, a cost to society when the markets can't function freely. Now, let's switch views a little bit and talk about it from a policy perspective. and ask ourselves if governments should create markets, such as public marketplaces, for example. What about cases where the markets don't exist at all? Think about pop-up food markets in underserved neighborhoods or affordable housing lotteries. Sometimes the government helps create these markets when private doesn't naturally appear. If the result is people buying healthy food and getting access to shelter where they wouldn't otherwise, then yes, that surplus is real and the markets are worth supporting. So here's the bottom line. Let's see some takeaways from everything we've spoken about. Markets balance themselves using prices. The right price always equals equilibrium. When supply does not equal demand, prices always adjust. We also know that markets create value, which is measured in surplus. When markets don't exist, governments might step in to create one. So whether you're buying sneakers, concert tickets, or gaming consoles, you're part of this beautiful system in action. I hope all of this helps you understand how supply and demand works and you have enjoyed this video.